Hey everybody, I see you're joining here. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to arrive. Alrighty, just waiting for some more people to arrive for our Book a Spot webinar, learning about booking assets in your wellness living program. For those who haven't seen me before, my name's Helen. I'm one of the trainers here at Wellness Living, and I'm excited to teach you all about this. I think we'll wait until about just a couple more minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. For anybody just joining, we're just waiting for a couple more people to start. We're getting ready for our Book a Spot webinar, where we're going to learn about how to manage our assets, our business assets. Okay, so we're just going to give it another minute or so to give a couple more people the chance to join before we jump in. For those of you who haven't seen me before, I'm Helen. Welcome to the Book a Spot webinar. You'll notice that we've turned the chat off, but we are going to leave the questions open. We'll be addressing questions at the end, and we'll do our best to get through every single one. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I think we're ready to go. So one more time. Hi, everybody. My name's Helen. I'm one of the trainers here at Wellness Living, and welcome to the Book a Spot webinar. So we're going to be going over a few things today, but the point is we want to teach you how to easily manage your room and equipment. And we want you to be able to keep your business safe by maintaining social distance for clients and staffs with your Book a Spot bookable assets. So as you know, many of you are reopening you've got new social distance rules you need to follow, sanitizing, cleaning, and just making sure it's safe for everybody. So we want to show how to make that really efficient for you and safe for your clients. So when we're all done this webinar, your learning objectives are going to be how to keep your business and clients safe post COVID-19 or even opening during COVID-19, how to create and automate your bookable assets, how to build new revenue streams with Book a Spot, and how to streamline your reopening and empower your clients. So we're just going to start with a poll right now because I want to get an idea of how many of you are actually open, how many are planning to reopen, just where you are right now in the business. So if you could take a moment just to answer this poll, then we'll get a good idea of who's in here. So you'll notice there's a virtual option, there's a physical option, and then reopening soon. Alrighty. So it looks like a lot of you have already reopened your studios. Very good. So let's go see how we can make this as easy as possible for you. So to get started, I wanted to talk about using purchase options to create contracts. So we do have that option in our system, and what that's going to do for you is it's going to let the clients know your rules for using your facility during social distance. So, if you need them to be aware of their spacing, confirming their appointments, booking it a certain time ahead of time, that kind of thing, as well as making them aware of their responsibilities if they need to be wearing masks, washing hands, and what you're going to be doing to keep safe as well. If you're going to be sanitizing between use, how many people are allowed in, any details that you want to include. So let me just take a moment here and let's get into Wellness Living. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and go under my setup screen here, and I'm going to go under store configuration to purchase options. I just want to show you how easy it is to make your purchase options have a contract included. So I've actually created a few down here, and I have session passes as well as memberships. So we'll be looking at open gym access as well as appointments. So let me just open up this appointment. What's going to be super important for you when you are creating a purchase option is just making sure you have the correct category selected at the top. Many of you are probably veterans with doing this, but if Book a Spot's newer for you, you're going to see some things that maybe you didn't consider before. One thing is when we talk about open gym, you may want to make a purchase option that's specifically for gym visit options, but I would advise against it because then you can't actually tie any assets to it. So you're going to be focused on the asset option, and then if you have that asset associated to a service like a class event or an appointment, then you would choose these. So in this case, this is for an appointment, and I've called it the single social distance appointment, and I'm just going to scroll down here. I'm giving access to everything. You can limit. You can also, you'll notice I created an open gym access category. So if you have services that are online versus those in person, it'll be a good idea to use your online store categories just to make it super easy for people to find what they're looking for. So I've just expanded the advanced settings. And going down, here is the contract section. So I've toggled on that clients must agree to a contract, and I just want to point out here that we have some variables you can use if you'd like to personalize this a bit further: business name, full name, expiration date, location, purchase option, and start date if you wanted to include that. I just wrote a quick sentence here: I agree to my social distancing responsibilities, but you can of course put in all of the information that you want, and then it's going to require that that client actually sign it in order to book whatever item you've associated that purchase option to. So I hope that that's clear, and the rest here I think you're super familiar with. So I just really wanted you to know how you would be able to create a contract that you're going to be able to require your clients to sign. So let me go ahead and just jump back to my presentation here. Okay. So we're going to use purchase options to create contracts, as I've shown you, but today's whole session is going to be about mastering social distancing, being in control and giving your members comfort in your services by offering bookable assets. So what do I mean by that? We're going to break it down and get as granular as we can for you. So just to get started, customize assets for every class. So we're going to look at how you would associate an asset to a class specifically. As it says here, you can allow your instructors to choose a reservation or first come, first serve model. Do you offer spin and open studio classes? Toggle it on. It's super simple, just a click. So let's take a look at how we would set up an asset that we want associated to a class. Alrighty, so back to my setup screen here. I'm actually going to start under setup. I'm going to choose book a spot. So let's take a look at this one right at the top here. You'll notice that we have categories, and then within categories you can create assets. So just to show you, I have spin class, open gym equipment, yoga mats, pedicures, and so on. So we're going to take a look at spin class, and we're going to look at the bike. I've created this ahead of time. We will be creating some together later, but I just wanted to get this focus on the class portion for now. So I'm going to click on that to open it up. So the first thing I want to show you is once you give it a name, this icon you can actually change into whatever you want. So I'm going to click right on it, and that's going to bring me to this screen. So I can choose to select a photo that's going to represent that asset. In this case, we're looking at bikes, or I can go to shapes. That is very basic. It's not going to give you much room to go beyond these 4 shapes here. And then the icons are the funnest, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this bike icon. But if you take a look, you can see that there's a few items we have here that we'll take a closer look at later. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. So I've got my bike icon here. I've got a color chosen. I've done the measuring in my spin room, and I know that I can safely socially distance 8 bikes in there. So I am putting 8 bikes as the maximum quantity I have for that class. If you were renting some of these bikes out, then the quantity would really be just however many you have available. So you just want to think about that this way. For now, we're going to focus on, again, tying it to a class as opposed to renting it alone. But some of the settings we're going to see here apply better if you are renting it out on its own. Like, for example, taking notes. You can take notes for an asset. Let's say you're renting a bike out and somebody returned it late. You can put a note there to let yourself know that that got returned late, and whatever the circumstances or consequences are because of that. Visit session value, I want to take a moment for as well. So let's say your client has a 5-session pass and they want to book a bike. Booking a bike is only going to cost 1 of those sessions from the 5-session pass, so we leave this on. However, if there was some reason that it was a little more expensive to rent that bike, maybe it's a fancier bike, then you can choose single visit equates to a custom session value. And so let's say I change this to 2. What that now means is that if somebody is renting that bike from me from my session pass, that's going to take 2 visits off of it rather than just the 1. I want to keep it at 1, so I'm just going to leave it here. We have quick buy set up here. If you have products that are available for quick buy, maybe if you're selling bicycle seats or something like that to make it more convenient, this is a staff function. So by turning it on, you would just select it here to make it available. And then asset booking rules. So for the class example, I'm going to leave this on asset can only be booked with other services, okay? What that means is that that does not allow for that renting option. It will only allow you to associate this asset to a service like the example we're looking at now, which is going to be a class. At the top here, let me give this a quick little save. You'll see while we're in here, we have asset selection layout. So I just want to show you what that means. I did this ahead of time. This is a very cool feature we have with our Book a Spot. And what you can see here is I have shown where my bikes are laid out. There's lots of space in between, but I'm also showing them where the instructor is going to be standing, where the fans are in the room in case that's relevant to them for their workout, and where the front door is. Okay, I will go through in more detail how you can create this setup in a bit, but for now I just wanted to show you I did create this for my bikes. I did not create an asset layout for my yoga mats. You can access it from here as well. So I'm just going to click asset layout. And as you can see, it's all sitting here. And as you'll see later, it's a drag and drop. It's super simple, but nothing's created here. So let me show you what that means as a client booking that class. Actually, let me show you real quick instead. I've missed one step. I want to show you how you actually associate to the class. So here's my yoga class. I'm going to open that up. And The advantage of using a class is that you have this option here for a description. So I've written here that the room's sanitized between classes, etc. And then special instructions, make sure you have a mask, whatever those rules are. I've got space in my yoga room for 10 mats. And you'll notice I've just scrolled right past the advanced settings and I'm going into the assets section. Okay, so this is where you can associate these bikes to your class. So service does not require assets. It's going to remove all these options just like that. When it does, that's when we're going to use this drop down. So I need yoga mats for this. Okay, then you're going to see asset is reserved individually per client or reserved for the entire class. So reserved for the entire class, an example of that would be if you had a room that was maybe a hot yoga room and you know that you need that for this class. Or that would be an example of it reserved for the entire class. Or perhaps you have a TV that you show videos on and everyone in the studio uses it, but it has to be booked. That's another example here. Booking that for one person reserves it for the whole class. But because these are yoga mats, people are not going to be sharing them. I've done this and I've chosen that the asset is reserved individually per client. And then on the next line here, I now have a choice to let clients choose which asset they would like to reserve or not. So because I have the layout for my spin class, I do have this chosen for the spin class because I want them to look at that layout that I created and choose the bike. Here, it's a yoga mat. I'm going to designate places in the room, and I don't really care which spot they pick. So I'm leaving this way, okay? And I'm going to show you from the client's perspective what the difference is. So I'm going to go ahead and switch into client view right now. Okay, and so I'm on book now, and I'm interested in looking at what the yoga looks like. So I'm going to book myself into the 6 o'clock right here. And again, this is the client's perspective, but on a desktop computer. So as you can see here, I've got yoga mat number 5. I have my special instructions here, and I click next. Then I have some social distance options here. I'm going to just do a drop-in for now and click next. And here is my contract that I showed you earlier. So this is the client's experience going through and reading the contract, reading the description. And so we'll just give that a quick signature. I agree, click next. Now I'm reviewing what's in the cart. And I'm going to use my credit card and I'm going to purchase my spot in that class. Now let's go back to Book Now. And I want to show you what it looks like, the spin class. If you remember, that's the one that I want to actually choose where I'm going to be biking. So let's go ahead and shortcut over to Safely Spinning. And I'm going to click Book Now. And you'll notice immediately I'm brought to this screen. Before I go further, let me cancel this. And I want to give you a little preview of what this looks like on the app for the clients. Let's make that look a little bit more like a cell phone. So I'm going to go ahead and click Classes. I've got, let's see, Safely Spinning right here. I'm going to book that. I'm going to click Book Now. It's going to have me confirm all the details here. Click Next. And once again, here is my asset layout. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one near the front, near the teacher, near the fan, far from the door, and complete. Okay, so let me close that up. So that's all it takes. If I go here, I just wanted to show you one more thing real quick. I don't think I chose the right class when I was in my app. But what I really wanted to show you here is you can see that these are booked. So if I try, it's going to say it's already reserved. And that's the whole point here. They can see, okay, these ones are booked. No one's here yet. It's really far from people. That's what I want. This is the autonomy that you can provide your clients so they can feel some ownership in their own safety when returning to your studio. And let me show you one more thing here. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to staff view just to give you a perspective of what that's going to look like on the schedule, booking for a client. So I'm just going to hop over to the schedule here. So I'm on day view here and I can see safely spinning. So I'm going to click on that and go to my attendance list. So let's add somebody into this class. Click yes. So what you'll notice here, this is my spinning class, but I wasn't given a choice. What happened was this person actually just ended up getting assigned the next bike that was available. But if we notice right here, we do have the asset layout available. And using the drop down, I can see where everybody is. So if Mohammed was with me, I can say, here's your bike. And he can say, I don't like being so close. I need to be at the back. Okay, no problem. So as a staff member, I can come into the attendance list, click the little pencil icon beside my bike. Oh, I forgot to check what number that was, but let's say it was 7. And you can leave this open while you do it. And so now we can see Mohammed's been moved back here. He's no longer up at the front. And so that is the freedom you have as a staff member if you want to help your clients make that choice. Okay, so I hope that that was super clear. And if not, we're going to be opening it up for questions later, so not to worry about that. Okay, so that is how you can customize assets for your class. Now, what about those of you that have an open gym? There are definitely a couple ways that you can choose to handle this. And I'm going to go through one. One of them is to do what we just did. Create the layout, assign it to a class, and schedule your class in multiple times throughout the day. Let's say we've got one at 5 a.m., then at 6:30, and if you make the bookings only an hour, that gives you half an hour to clean the whole place before the next round comes in. So that's highly recommended, especially if you are interested in showing people how they can pick their own bike, pick their own whatever they want from that station that they're using. So just to read this real quick, book equipment in your open gym, whether it's free weights or treadmills, manage your equipment with safety in mind to allow for proper social distancing and sanitization. So what is that going to look like? Just hopping back into my Wellness Living system here. Let's go over to setup. And we're going to go to book a spot. Okay, sorry. Let's take a look. So I've created this whole section called Open Gym Equipment. Let's actually add a new asset at this point. So I'm going to add one in here. And it's going to be the, let's see, one of these kinds of punching bags here. So I'm going to save that. Ceiling bag. I'm sorry, I'm sure that's the wrong name. And then I actually only have 2 of these at my studio. So we've gone through all of these settings previously. It's this last one here I want to take a closer look at right now. So assets can be booked separately from services. What I'm going to show you right now is how you can set up your open gym so that your clients are simply booking the actual equipment they want to use for the amount of time that they want to use it. And I think ideally they would have a gym membership that would cover the cost of all of that booking. So let's take a look at what that looks like. There are drawbacks and advantages to doing it this way versus as a class, but I'll get into that with you shortly. So assets can be booked separately from services. So what I'm actually going to do is click save here, and we're going to come back in. Okay, now you'll notice I've come back in, there's a schedule. So I can actually create a schedule for when this new punching bag is going to be available. So I'm going to click here to add available time. and it's my open gym. So I'm available every day. We start at 5 a.m. and we close the gym at 11 p.m. Okay, and I can add any notes I want here as well, and I'm going to click save. So now my schedule is in here. Now I want to give people the option for how long they want to use it. So I've given everything else 15 minutes. I can add another option by clicking this plus sign here and say that they can also choose to book it for 30 minutes, or they can choose to book it for 45 minutes. Okay, now if you don't actually want to charge anybody at all ever, you would leave this at $0. If you want them to have to apply a purchase option or pay for it, which I'm assuming you would, you need to assign a price here. It's not necessarily going to show, it can, and I'll show you that in the next step, but I'm just going to make everything $10. Okay. This toggle here is also quite important. Can clients book this asset? In this case, for our open gym, I'm going to toggle that on and say yes. So what you'll see here is that we have a Book Now tab. I don't know if you remember, but when I was booking as a client, I was under the Classes Book Now tab. And here I created a Gym Equipment Schedule Book Now tab. So I'm going to put it under there. You can add an age restriction if you want. You can require staff approval. So if this was a scenario that you wanted to make sure it wasn't totally automated, you wanted your staff members to actually approve every appointment or every asset request, that's when you would turn this on. So here are the purchase rules, and that's where the pricing I put in earlier is going to be the most relevant. If you sell individual sessions, every time someone books, they're going to be charged the amount that we indicated right here. I'm actually going to say I don't want to sell individual sessions. I want them to use purchase options. And the reason is because I have a gym membership. It's a monthly payment and it's unlimited visits. And so I want to make this as smooth for them as possible. Just continuing down, if you have different business policies, booking policies for these, what is the word I'm looking for? Social distance. If you have different policies for social distancing, you can turn this on and create custom business policies for the asset, just like you can for any of your other services. Maybe you need to make sure they book it at least an hour ahead of time. Just an example. I'm actually going to turn this off. This is another section that's quite important, which is booking interval. So if I know that I've only given them the option to book it for 15, 30, or 45 minutes, I'm going to make my booking interval 1 hour. And that's going to make sure that I have time to do the sanitizing that I need in between. You also have custom here. Maybe you just need 50 minutes, in which case you can, put that to 0, put this up to 50, whatever makes the most sense for you, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and click Save. Okay, so let's go together. We have a bunch of equipment here, and we're gonna look at the asset layout. Okay, so this is the funnest part. Let's see now. Grid spacing. Right now, this is 5 by 5. So that's not big enough for my gym. I know that for sure. I'm going to make it 15. And you'll notice immediately it's opened up and given me way more squares. And that's exactly what I need. You'll also notice, let me actually make this a little bit smaller just so that we can all see everything better. Okay, so display number. On the left-hand side, these are our actual assets. You'll notice at the top here they're listed. And they're showing names. So you can choose if you want that name to show or not. Do you want the number to show? I'm just going to show the item and the name. Okay, and now we're going to start putting them across the board. I'll just quickly explain selected asset border. This is more for the clients when they're actually making a selection. It's going to give it that color so you have a chance to match your branding should you need to do that. Alrighty, so just starting at the top here, I know that I keep my punching bags nicely distanced over in this corner here. And I know that my treadmills are located, we need a little more distance right there. And then I have the stationary bikes going down in that same row as well. My dumbbells are actually right here in between these sections. I've got my 2 ceiling dumbbells here, and I've only got 1 stair climber, but I've decided to put it actually right here. Let me move these. And so this can actually help you to figure out the plan for your room if you haven't put it together yet. So this is where my assets are actually sitting. But what if there's more that I want to show my clients? We have the Shapes tab here. So for example, maybe on the left-hand side, let's look at the icons first. So there's more icons here that you can use, but the ones that I want to show you are these. So I have the front door. I can indicate where the front door is. And I have fans in the room. I have a fan here. Whoops, I have a fan here. I've got one right here near the dumbbells, but I've got another one right here in front of the treadmills. And I've also got one here. And then you may even want to put that we have a help desk with someone located here and also there. Whoopsie. There we go. Now, what are we going to do with these shapes? You can see I've created some called wall. Okay, so I'm actually going to put this here. And I'm going to just stretch it and show them that, yes, there is a wall here between these people. There we go. So they can see there's a wall between where the people are and where the workouts are happening. If you want to create a new shape, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to choose the rectangle. So to make changes to this, I'm going to hover and get this little pencil icon. I'm going to click on that. And that's going to allow me to change whatever I want. So I'm going to actually make this a glass partition because we've installed some in our studio. And just to make it look a little more like glass, I'll give it this color, and I'll even change this to a deeper blue and say, okay, great. Now I'm going to take my partition, and I actually, don't forget to click the little checkbox when you're done. So I've actually built a glass partition here so that I could keep the cardio equipment. Let me move that over and just reshape it a little bit. I want to keep that cardio equipment separate from the dumbbells. So I have a glass partition here. So this is the layout that I have right now for my gym, my open gym. So I'm going to go ahead, save and exit. So just to give you a little bit of a reminder, a review, we've gone through each of these and we've made sure that it is bookable by clients. We've provided a schedule. We've given the intervals, bookable by clients here. It's all under the Book Now tab. And we want them to use purchase options. I've got my intervals. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like for the client to book it. Now, as I've mentioned previously, if we actually associate this to a class, you saw earlier what that looks like, how they're going to choose their spot. So I'm going to show you now what it would look like if you don't associate it to the class. And oddly enough, actually, if you don't associate an asset to a class, that whole selection layout isn't even going to be visible to them. Let me show you. So here is the Book Now tab I've created. So I'm going to click right on that. And here are my options for what I can book in the gym. Okay, so I love the stair climber and I use it for a good 30 minutes straight. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. I'm going to choose my date and time. And you can see that what's still available, what's not available. I'm going to click here and choose next. Oh, and I didn't configure anything. Let me go back. Let me do the punching bags. Sorry about that, everybody. So you have to make sure that everything is taken care of with the purchase option associated ahead of time. Here we go. This is when I set up. Open gym access expires after a month. I want to use that so that as I'm booking the rest of my visits, I'm not going to have to buy something every single time. It'll just automatically be associated. So I know that, you know, at 6 o'clock, I've booked that. Here is my open gym access contract. So I know that I'm planning my workout from home basically, and I'm making sure that it's going to be available to me. So now I'm going to decide, what do I want to use next? And I'm going to go back to the gym equipment schedule. I'm going to choose what I want to work with next, which would be, say, I like to do a quick run after that for 15 minutes and go next, and so on. So that's going to allow me, I'll just show you quickly here. I'd rather start that one at 7, click next. And you can see it's going to use my open gym access and complete. So once they make that initial purchase, going through is a breeze booking that. And one more thing I will say is that viewing this style of booking the asset on its own as opposed to part of a class, that does require the white label app. Clients will not be able to do that from our free Achieve app. They can book a class, as you saw, but they won't be able to just book the asset. Okay, let me just make sure I've covered everything I wanted to in regards to this, because this is a pretty big one. Okay, great. So what I also want to explain, the final point in regards to what is better. Is it better to use the gym as an asset only, or is it better to associate it to a class? So some things to consider are, do you want your clients to be able to choose from the layout which boxing bag they're going to use, which treadmill, or do you just want it to assign them a treadmill right away? If you do it as a class, you're going to actually be able to associate a description, some warnings, you know, something in here that's going to allow people to see the class description. There's no description if it's just an asset. And the other thing for a class is that you will have to assign a staff member. But another benefit of using a class, like I said, is it does give you more control over the schedule, in that you know exactly when you can be cleaning. If the class is booked at 1, you've got time to clean after, and so on. Okay. Let me go ahead and switch back to client to staff view. Okay, so never double book another room or your equipment. So I'm actually going to go into first appointments. I want to just take a quick look at that and how that works. And then, you know, it can be used for rooms, appointments. Choose the best space in advance and never worry about it being double booked again. So that is a really cool feature as well. Let's take a look at how that's going to work with appointments. So I've just come back into my staff view, and I've gone to book a spot here. And I'm just going to show you real quick at the bottom. I'm going to be looking at pedicures. So what I've done here, I'll show you the asset layout. I have created here, it's showing, let me put this wall here so they can see. We have indoor chairs, but I have a couple caddies, so we can do outdoor as well for these appointments. This is a really great way to let people choose. So I'm just going to click save, and now we're actually going to go look at the appointments. There's a couple features in appointments that I think are really important. So let's go straight to pedicures. And I'm just going to note here, again, we have the opportunity to write a description, add special instructions. Another really great thing about appointments is padding time, okay? So normally the default is this, but I'm gonna recommend that you add padding. And actually, after playing around with it, I think the best option is to add it after. So then your start times can all be more even, and then you know after I'm going to have 20 minutes to clean up. In this case, we're looking at a pedicure chair, pedicure equipment. I'm going to have time to sanitize and clean that. So you want to take advantage of this padding if you're using appointments. What else did I want to show you? Staff approval. I touched on this briefly when it comes to assets, but when you are booking appointments, you can require that clients request that appointment. And again, giving yourself more control. Do I have time to clean between here? Am I gonna have time for lunch? Is my capacity in my building gonna be too much? That kind of thing, if you want that control, but I'm gonna leave it off. And then what I also wanted to show you is customer questions. So this is a really cool feature about appointments, which is you can require a question. Do you have a fever? Let's add another question. Have you traveled outside of the country in the last 2 weeks? Maybe initial that you understand your responsibilities. I'm going to leave this one out, but you can put these questions right here. Okay. And then here is the assets section. So service requires assets. I'm chosen pedicures. Now, if you remember, I have 2 different kinds of assets here. So here it's saying this service can use any asset in this category. I'm going to leave it here. If it requires, if I wanted to create 2 appointments, one is called outdoor pedicure and one is called indoor pedicure, then I can go here and say it requires a specific asset. And if this is the outdoor pedicure, then it only uses the outdoor caddies. If it's the indoor, then it would only use the indoor. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to say any asset's fine. And I do want them to choose. Again, we have the default business policies here. And what did I put at the top? I think they're hour-long appointments. So since they're an hour, I actually want my booking intervals to be on the hour, just keeping in mind I have that 20 minutes I'm going to be cleaning after. And I'm going to click Save. So just to give you that idea of what it looks like again, I'm back into Client View. I'm going to Appointments right here. My pedicure, oh, they have 4 fancy chairs inside and 2 regular chairs can go outside, weather permitting. Well, that sounds amazing. So I'm going to do that and click Next. And you'll notice that this is changing now that it realizes I need an asset. So I don't care who does it for me. I want to do today and 5 o'clock looks good. Click Next. And once again, here I can see actually at 5 o'clock, there's only 1 outdoor option left, or I can choose an indoor chair. I want to feel extra safe. I'm going to book outdoor. Next. Now the questions come up. Do you have a fever? I have to answer these. The asterisk is on. No, I don't have a fever. Have I traveled outside of the country? No. These would be good in association with making someone request the appointment. That way you can read these answers before approving it. Click Next and so on. That's how I would book that appointment in. Let me go ahead and switch back. You guys have seen me go through it, so I'm not going to go through the whole booking process again. I considered if using the gym assets would make sense in appointments, but because appointments require a staff associated to them, it wouldn't. And that's why I just wanted to explain that, why you wouldn't see that in there. Okay, rent your space for an additional revenue stream. So this is something a lot of people have not really thought about, but it's a really cool thing that you can do that can help to increase your revenue if you just have some space that's unused sitting around. Maybe you're not ready to instruct many people in your classes, but you're ready to rent out rooms to people who can do that themselves. So going back to Book a Spot, we are going to build this together. So you'll see how I do it. I click Add Category, and I'm going to call it Rental Rooms. If you ever need to update this title, you just click and you can do it like that. I am actually going to just put a door, and we're going to call it Rooms. And all of this is good, but I do want them booked separately from services. I don't want any purchase option associated. So I'm going to say it's $50 for 1 hour. It's $80 for 2 hours, or they can book it for 3 hours at $120. And I do want clients to be able to reserve this room. Now, just to show you here, I don't want it under any of these. I'm actually going to create a whole new Book Now tab right from this section, and it's going to be called Rent a Room. Click the green checkbox, and it's been saved and selected. Going down further, I do want staff approval for this. I'm going to leave it off just for our purposes right now, and I'm going to sell individual sessions here. Okay, I'll use the default policies. I'll give them the half-an-hour booking interval, and that works for me. So I'm going to click Save. And what I want to show you as well in these rooms, at the very bottom here, there's a direct booking URL. So I'm going to click Copy to Keyboard, and I'm going to show you when I paste that and hit Enter. This is a shortcut. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm logged in. Let me go into the staff view, client view rather, sorry, I'm in staff view. So now if I go and I'm putting the URL in, it's going to take me straight to this room's booking wizard. Okay, so you can see the rent a rooms up here. I want this for 2 hours, click Next. I'm going to choose the date and time. I didn't put the availability. So you see, it is important to go through all of those steps just to make sure if you're booking it on its own, you have to add an availability, and I missed that. So that's super important. But the point is, once they do that, we get to billing information and it's booked. It's that easy to monetize your unused space, to rent out your bikes, to, do anything you need to do where you want to keep track of your assets, but also make extra revenue. I wanted to show you something super important as well. Let's take a look at the schedule. If you are renting out a bunch of space, then you're going to want to be able to see it really easily on your schedule. So right now, what I'll show you, I'm in day view, I'm in calendar view, so that's very important. I'm going to click these 3 dots, and you can see normally you're used to seeing staff view where all of your staff names are listed across the top right here, and that you can see all of your schedule here. But in asset view, you actually get to see all of your assets along the top. Okay, that's going to allow you to see what's booked. So here I saved a filter for my open gym reservations. If we just skip back briefly, that's where I showed you how you can just book. And so this you can see really clearly what's available, what's still missing, and so on. Okay, and then that makes booking super duper easy. Let's see here. There's just one more thing I wanted to show you guys, which is a very kind of unique situation. So I'm going to try to get it in so we have time for questions at the end here. So going back to my book a spot. Actually, no, I've created the rooms. We're good there. I'm going to go into my appointments. There may be occasions that you have more than one asset that you need to tie to a service. So I created this massage and pedicure combo. And the 2 assets I would need for that are the pedicure pieces as well as a room, because it's a massage, right? So I need to have a room booked for that as well. So I'm just hopping right down into my assets. And I'm set up right now with yoga mats. That's not going to work. We're going to use pedicures. Okay, so this service requires a specific asset in the category. In this case, yes, we can't do the outdoor. Actually, we can only do the outdoors. Sorry, we can only use those outdoor caddies for this type of appointment. We can't move a chair into a room. We can't do the massage at the same time. So only the outdoor caddy will work. The next point I want to show you is this here, add asset, the plus sign. So here is a second one. Here's the rooms that I'm going to need. And so in this case, it doesn't actually require something specific. It can be anything. And I don't want the client to choose. I just want it to be automatically booked. And click Save. And so now, as a client, under appointments, I can go ahead and find my massage and pedi combo. Click Next, and you'll see here it's updating. I don't care who does it. Click Next. So I need a date and time. So let's say I'm going for a late one tonight at 8 p.m. And now I'm going to click Next. Oh, looks like I didn't set it up correctly. And now I'm signing my contract. It looks like I didn't give the I didn't give the client the chance to choose in this case. And so it all did it automatically for me. Again, it's totally up to you if you want it to be done automatically or if you want to give clients that chance to choose. Um, let's see here. I think that was everything I wanted to cover. So let's see here. Okay, yeah, let's open it up for questions. Just in case we go crazy with the questions. If you're not a Wellness Living customer yet and you do want to learn more, go to discover.wellnessliving.com/webinar and you can get a free demo. 20 minutes will show you around the program, any other features you're interested in, and it's tailored specifically for you so that you know exactly what your needs are and you can ask our demo specialists to show that around to you. But let me go ahead and take a look here at our questions. I'm most likely going to need to get back into Wellness Living to answer any questions. So let me go ahead and prepare that. Okay. Okay, so actually, the only question I see here, thanks for asking, Casey, is what is the best way to contact us if there are some questions? So the best way to contact us if you are playing around with this and you're coming across some of your own unique scenarios, just reach out to our support team, support@wellnessliving.com. You can go up in the top right-hand corner here. Let me actually click into Book a Spot. There's a lot of resources we have available for you. So you can give us a call. When you're in Book a Spot, you'll see that Book a Spot stuff comes up. So let's say I'm looking at this article. I can choose to view it in the knowledge base. That's going to open up for me. Or I can send an email straight from here, make a call, or visit the community forum. So that's going to be the best way to reach out to us if you do have more questions. Anybody have any final questions here at this time? Okay, well, I do hope that that wasn't too overwhelming. I hope it was super clear for you, and I thank you very much for your time and attention. I guess we just don't have any more questions. I wish you all the best of luck opening up, and oh, Annette, thanks for the for letting me know that you enjoyed it, Gabriella. Annette, I'm waiting for you. Don't worry, I'm here. Let me know what your question is, and I'm happy to help. While she's typing that out, I'm just going to repeat here for anybody who missed it. We do offer, for those of you that have visited this webinar, you are entitled to check out our software with one of our software specialists, demo specialists, who can really go through and show you what your experience would be using the program. So what Annette wants to know is, what if you have a buffer between rooms in the book a room scenario? Okay. So what I would suggest in that case, let me go here. There's actually a couple ways that you can handle that. So if it's a book a room scenario, one option is to add unavailable time. That's probably going to be the most cumbersome option for you. I don't know that I recommend that. Another option that's going to be really good is to, rather than booking it, I'm sorry, before I give that answer, another option that's going to be good for you is to use these booking intervals. So if it's every 90 minutes and they can only book on the hour, you know there's going to be a half an hour buffer in between. If the max is 3 hours, you can create 3 of these. There's lots of ways to kind of manipulate it, but what I would recommend, and I believe what our support team would recommend, is to actually change it to an associated to a service. So if you were to create a room booking appointment, that's the service in particular, then that allows you to add that padding time that I talked about earlier. And that's really going to be the best way to do it. If you associate that asset to an appointment and then add padding, whether before or after or both, then when you see it on the schedule, it's actually going to have that time unavailable. So let me provide an example of what that would look like. So if the room was available from somebody booked it from 5 to 6 p.m. and you put in 20-minute padding, the next available booking would be 6:20 p.m. So I hope that that makes sense for you, but that's definitely the best way to handle if you wanted to add in that padding time. One more thing I'll add as well is if you have some other ideas about ways that we can improve our Book a Spot feature, you can click on help, and then the community forum I mentioned is a really excellent tool that you can go and say, this is what I need, and other businesses can upvote and everyone can get together and say, yes, this is exactly what we need. Let me see, I've got a bit more. I hope that answered your question there, Annette. Let's see here, Roger. Hey, Roger. Is it better to create assets with one for each asset or 10 times for a group of assets? That's a good question. And you know what? It really depends on how you're planning to use it. So, for example, in the earlier examples, you'll see here I have 8 bikes. There's nothing different between each bike. That's kind of the main point here. Regardless of which bike you're renting, it's the same bike. You know, if it's associated to a class, for example, they're all part of that class. Here I've got 3 punching bags, 3 treadmills, so on and so forth. The rooms, if they're different, then I would recommend putting them as one for each, and especially by different, I mean even if the settings are different, you're going to want to have them individual. But if the settings are identical for all of them, like here the main difference is the picture I associated to it, but I wanted them to see what outside is going to look like versus inside. So that's how you would decide if you wanted to do one time or if you want to do multiple. Okay, let me see here. I've got another just to follow up from Annette earlier, her experience is that the padding time applies to the staff person, not the asset. If the asset is tied to an appointment, we did this in a recent update actually, it will take that into account for the asset. It is currently, if they book out recurring, it's only going to take it into account for that very first one, but it is going to take that into account for future. So thank you, Annette. You sound like one of our experts here. Okay, so Roger says, I have 10 spin bikes. If one goes out of service, I want to remove it from the layout. And so you can simply go in and change the number here, or you could actually go into your schedule and you could book that time because of the way it's laid out. Oh, now I see what you're saying. So if you wanted to book that the one isn't available, I would go and I would actually book it in with someone, or I would change the amount on there because in here, when they're multiples, you can only book all of them or none of them. I see what you're saying now, Roger. Sorry if I missed that earlier. Let me just go back up here to Sarah's question. When might staff try to schedule an asset for a customer from their end, instead of seeing only the booking intervals we have set, they see all of our open hours. How can we correct that? I think because of their staff level permission, it's showing that it's all the open hours. But you know what, Sarah, I think I need more details for this one because it shouldn't be doing that. It depends on the way it's booked. So what I would recommend is that you, if you can record exactly what's happening when you're doing it, how the setup looks and everything, send that in to us, then we can look at your unique scenario and find out exactly why it's showing all those hours. It could literally be a staff member permission. It could be a lot of things. We want to, the purpose is so that as a staff member, you can override anything. But again, here I can see how that can create issues. So definitely reach out to us with your unique scenario. Okay, let's see here for rooms. One more from Annette, and then I think we're going to close it up here. For rooms, if I set it up to book for the whole room with the first reservation as in a class, do you still have to put in the number of spaces for it to work right? I have a room set up with quantity 1, and I always have a problem when I make changes to a scheduled class. Says the participants do not have assets. So the asset, that is a matter of the setting. I'm going to quickly hop over here and just show you guys what I mean by that. And I'll use my room as an example. Oh, actually, I came into the wrong place to use that as an example. Let me go to, I will choose something that's not got anything associated to it. So just hopping down into assets. I'm going to choose rooms. This is the one. This is the whole setting that's giving you that issue. This asset is reserved for the entire class. Notice there's multiple people. If you have it reserved individually per client, then it would need 1 per client. But because it's a whole room, you literally just have to choose this, and that should alleviate that issue for you completely. All right, folks, I really appreciate your attention and your participation in these amazing questions. I'm just going to really quickly just hop over back to our presentation just so that I can put this link back up for those of you who are not yet Wellness Living customers, just so that you can see discover.wellnessliving.com/webinar is where you're going to go to get that free demo. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Just reach out to our support team if you have some more questions about this, and I look forward to seeing you in more webinars in the future. Thank you so much. Let me just give you a little, there you go. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great day.